The first thing I noticed was that the missing man's tent looked too clean. Not clean like new. Clean like someone had wiped away the wrong parts. I didn't understand that at first. I just remember standing in the damp leaves, looking at the zipper, thinking it should have had mud on it. Everything else did. It was early October when my friend Marcus and I drove to Lake Morrow, a small campground 3 hours north. It had a pit toilet, a rusted map board, and almost no cell service. At the entrance board, there was a missing person flyer under the plastic cover. Elias Voss, 34, last seen near East Trail Loop. Marcus made a quiet comment about it being a bad sign. I laughed because I didn't want to be dramatic. We had already driven 3 hours, so we stayed. Our site was number 12, set back behind pines near the lake. Site 11 was empty. Site 13 had an orange tent, a blue cooler, and a tarp tied between 2 trees. No car, no person, just the tent. While we were unloading, a ranger truck rolled past. The ranger slowed near Site 13, looked at the orange tent, then kept going. A little before sunset, a man walked into our site carrying a clipboard. He wore a gray hoodie under a yellow search and rescue vest, brown work pants, and a flashlight clipped to his chest. He asked whether we had seen anyone near the East Trail. When we said no, he looked past us towards Site 13 and warned us not to touch that camp because it belonged to the missing man. That was when the flyer stopped feeling like a notice on a board. Elias had been right there, maybe sitting at that picnic table with no idea anyone would be studying his tent a few days later. I asked whether they thought he was still alive. The man didn't answer directly. He only tapped the clipboard against his leg and said people got turned around when they thought they knew the woods. Then he left. No goodbye, no real instructions. Just walked back toward the road. That night, the campground felt empty in a way I didn't like. There were normal sounds, wind, leaves, water against rocks. But no voices, no other fires, no car doors, just our fire and that orange tent one side over. Marcus went to sleep around 10. I stayed by the coals because I never sleep right away camping. I don't remember exactly what time I heard the zipper. It came from Site 13. Slow. Only a few inches. I turned and stared at the orange tent. For a second, nothing moved. Then the flap shifted from the inside and a hand came out. Just a hand. It felt around near the entrance, grabbed something from the ground and pulled it back in. Then the zipper closed again. I sat there too long. That is the part I hate remembering. I didn't yell. I didn't move right away. I just watched it happen while my brain tried to turn it into an animal, or wind, or a trick of the firelight. Then I woke Marcus. By the time he came out, the tent was still. No light, no movement, nothing. Marcus convinced himself it was a raccoon. I let him because I wanted the same thing. In the morning, we walked over to Site 13. We didn't go inside. We just stood at the edge and looked. Our boots were muddy from walking 10 feet. Leaves stuck to our tarp. But Elias's tent looked maintained. The mat outside the zipper had been brushed off. His boots were placed neatly under the rainfly. No leaves dragged inside, no sign of panic. It looked like someone had cleaned up after him. The campsite tag still had Elias's name on it. Underneath, in black marker, someone had written, "Back Sunday." That made no sense. The missing flyer said Elias had disappeared Tuesday. I touched the plastic sleeve without thinking. When I pulled my hand back, there was a faint black smear on my finger, fresh ink. I should have gone straight to the ranger station. Instead, I wiped my finger on my pants and told myself I didn't know enough to be worried. That afternoon, we avoided the East Trail and took the West Loop. It didn't feel safer. About 20 minutes in, we found a red glove hanging from a branch. Not dropped, hung. A few minutes later, there was another one. Same color, same height. Then we found a third glove with the fingers cut off. Inside was a folded receipt. Morrow, fuel and bait. Tuesday, 7:42 p.m. At the bottom, someone had written 2 words in pencil. Wrong lake. After that, the woods stopped feeling empty. They felt arranged. We turned back. 5 minutes later, the man in the yellow vest was standing on the trail behind us, clipboard at his side, watching like he had been waiting for us to notice him. In daylight, he looked less like a searcher and more like someone dressed as one. His vest was too clean. His boots were too clean. His face had no urgency in it. Marcus showed him the glove and explained where we had found it. The man took it, opened the receipt, looked at it for maybe 1 second, and put it in his pocket. He told us it was nothing. I asked if he was with the county search team. He looked at me for a second too long, then told us to go back to our site. When we returned to the campground, a real ranger was near the entrance board replacing the missing flyer. I asked about the search team, and the look on her face changed before she said anything. The official search had been suspended the day before. Nobody was supposed to be out there wearing a vest. I described the man. Gray hoodie, yellow vest, clipboard. The ranger stopped working on the flyer. She wrote something down and told us not to hike again. That should have been enough for us to leave. But the road out had been damaged by rain overnight. A tree had come down somewhere past mile marker 6, and leaving after dark wasn't recommended. So we stayed. Because a real ranger knew. Because help felt nearby. Because sometimes a little bit of authority makes you ignore what your own body is telling you. Near dusk, Marcus noticed Site 13 had changed. The boots were gone. The orange tent, tarp, and cooler were still there, but the boots under the rainfly were missing. I checked the campsite tag again. Back Sunday had been crossed out. Under it, someone had written, "No, he won't." I remember getting angry before I got scared. It felt cruel, like someone was turning a missing person into a joke. We hurried to the ranger kiosk near the entrance, but the truck was gone. The radio box on the wall had a padlock on it. That was when Marcus started packing without another word. I followed. We packed badly, sleeping bags shoved into sacks, food thrown into the cooler. I spent several minutes looking for my keys even though they were in my jacket pocket. That delay may have saved us. While I was still patting myself down, headlights moved slowly through the trees. Not a ranger truck. A dark SUV. It stopped beside Elias's tent. The man in the yellow vest got out. Then a woman stepped out wearing a green coat and a knit hat pulled low. She opened the back door and took out a plastic storage tote. Neither of them used a flashlight. Neither of them spoke. They moved around Elias's campsite like they had done it before. The woman unzipped the orange tent and removed things one by one. Sleeping bag, camping stove, gray backpack. The man carried the cooler to the SUV. Marcus gestured for us to leave. He was right. But my phone was still plugged into the portable battery inside our tent. I went back for it. That was the stupidest thing I did all night. I crawled in low, found the phone, and pulled it loose. My shoulder bumped a lantern into a metal mug. It wasn't loud, but outside, everything stopped. Through the tent wall, I saw the man turn his head. Marcus whispered my name once, sharp. I crawled out the back, ripping one stake loose, and we ran toward the lake because the SUV blocked the path to the road. The ground near the water was roots and wet leaves. I fell once. Behind us, I heard someone following. Not sprinting, walking fast, careful. like he knew we would wear ourselves out. We hid under a slanted pine near the shoreline. Marcus covered his mouth with his sleeve. A flashlight beam moved over the water, then across the rocks above us. The man stood on the trail. He called out that we were making things worse. He said it calmly. That made it worse. The beam passed over us once and missed. Then the woman called from farther back that they had to finish. That stayed in my head. Finish what? When the light moved away, we followed the shoreline until we found the old logging road from the campground map. After maybe 20 minutes, we saw an old storage shed through the trees. A rusted sign said, Morrow Conservation Storage. The door was latched from the outside. Then something knocked from inside. 3 taps. A pause. 3 taps again. I didn't want to open it. I need to be honest about that. For a second, I thought we should keep going. Then it knocked again. Marcus lifted the latch. The smell came out first. Damp clothes, old wood, something sour. A man was sitting on the floor with his hands zip-tied in front of him. At first, I thought it was Elias. It wasn't. He was older, maybe 60, with one eye swollen and dry blood under his nose. His ranger uniform had the name Keller on it. He could barely talk, but we understood enough. He was the real ranger. He had found Elias's camp Tuesday night, then saw lights near the old road and followed them. Someone hit him from behind. He had been locked in that shed since Wednesday. When Marcus asked about Elias, Keller closed his eyes before answering. Elias had made it back, not rescued, not safe. Back. He had gotten lost near the wrong lake and somehow found his way back. Before Keller went for help, Elias said someone had been moving trail markers. Gloves, tape, small things that made hikers doubt themselves and turn the wrong way. Keller left to call it in. When he came back, Elias was gone again. Only this time, his camp had been cleaned. That was when everything shifted. The clean tent wasn't strange. It was evidence. We cut Keller loose with Marcus's pocket knife. Our hands were shaking. Keller said the logging road led to an old gate about a mile south. If we reached it, we might get signal. We helped him walk. For 10 minutes, I thought we were almost out. Then Keller stopped. Ahead of us, hanging from a branch in the middle of the road, was a red glove. Below it was Marcus's blue lighter, the one he had lost earlier that night. Nobody moved. Keller whispered not to follow the markers, so we left the road and pushed into the trees. A few minutes later, the SUV crawled along the logging road with its headlights off. Just the engine, just the tires. If we had stayed on that road, they would have driven right up behind us. We climbed until the ground started rising. My phone picked up one bar near the ridge. I called 911. The call dropped twice. On the third try, I got enough out for them to understand. Lake Morrow, fake searcher, injured ranger, old logging road. Then the woman in the green coat stepped out from behind a tree about 20 feet ahead of us. She wasn't holding anything. That almost made her worse. She looked at Keller like he had disappointed her. Keller told us to run. Marcus went left. I went right. Behind me, Keller shouted. Then there was a hard sound, like someone hitting wet wood. Then nothing. I ran until my legs felt loose and wrong. Branches hit my face. I dropped my phone once and went back for it, which still feels like the dumbest possible reason to die. When I reached the old gate, police lights were coming through the trees. A deputy found me near the road. Marcus came out about 10 minutes later, covered in mud and crying so hard he couldn't talk. Keller survived. Elias Voss was found the next morning less than 200 yards from his own campsite. He wasn't deep in the woods. He wasn't miles away. He had made it back. The man in the yellow vest was arrested 2 counties over. The woman was never found. Police found search and rescue vests in the SUV, clipboards, trail tape, campsite tags, a box of red gloves. They also found campground maps with fake routes drawn in pen. For a while, I thought the worst part was knowing Elias survived the woods. But 2 weeks later, a detective called and asked me about the campsite tag. He wanted to know if I remembered anything written on the back. At first, I said no. Then I remembered. When I touched the plastic sleeve that morning, the tag had flipped in the wind. There was one word written on the back in black marker. Again. The detective went quiet when I told him. Then, he said they had found the same word on 2 other campsite tags from missing person cases in neighboring counties. I haven't camped since. I still smell wood smoke sometimes when someone in the neighborhood has a fire going. For half a second, I'm back there. Wet leaves, dark water, Marcus whispering my name from outside the tent. The official report says Elias' boss got lost and ran into the wrong people. But that isn't really what happened. He found his way back. And that was the part they punished him for.